Hello everyone, Atma Nityananda. I would like to tell you how we can remain aware of our inner self, the essence of our existence, the silent space of consciousness. What we really are is consciousness, which is experienced as a silent space, as a still, changeless, always present in the timeless now space, silence. The problem is that we identify very easily with the thought processes, with thought streaming and emotions and external reality in the form of sounds, what we see, visions, most of all, and also smell, what we smell, and what we touch. But most of all, we lose ourselves in our thought streaming, emotions, and what we see and what we hear. And thus we lose connection with the inner silence, which is always present, complete, whole, free, peaceful, and blissful. So if you want to live in freedom and plenitude and peace, we must establish ourselves in this awareness of inner silence and deepen into it, deepen in silence and rest in silence constantly, regardless of what we experience through the senses and regardless of what is arising in our psyche. This is the most important thing. If we want to live in freedom, peace, true happiness, plenitude, beauty. Otherwise, we are subject to the programming, conditioning of the subconscious mind. We live pleasant, unpleasant, pleasurable, joyful experiences. In fact, sensory experiences, most of them at least, are neutral. But it is our attitude and our structure, mental, emotional structure, that makes them pleasant or unpleasant to us. The same experience, it's not pleasant to all. For example, the most obvious example is a football match. The ones that support, they play football, for example, tennis, whatever may be, two teams or two persons. If I am fan of Barcelona football team, and Barcelona plays with against Real Madrid, and since I am Barcelona, when Barcelona marks a goal, I feel happiness, joy. I experience joy. And the fans of Real Madrid, some kind sadness, no, I don't know, but some disappointment, frustration, anger. But the event is the same for both, for all. But depending our attitude to the event, we may experience happiness, joyfulness, or distress, unhappiness of any kind. And the same applies to all experiences. We think that the experience are the source of our happiness and unhappiness or sorrow. But it's our attitude in most cases. But even with the physical death, if we are totally detached and indifferent about our body, about what will happen to our body, then even death cannot create an emotional state of sadness or depression or sorrow, grief, whatever may be. It is our attachment and identification with the physical form that causes this pain, psychological pain. So even then, the most important thing for us, because we are so identified with the physical form, it is because our inner state of consciousness, subconscious programming, conditioning, that we suffer. I don't mean suffer physically. I speak about psychological suffering. So, the most important thing in life is to manage and to transform, not only manage, address, manage, and transform our psychological apparatus. We call mind at all levels: emotional mind, thinking mind, intellect, subconscious mind. We have to deal with all these aspects of mind and purify them, eliminate all conditioning related to the mind, and elevate the vibrational frequency of the mind to become sattva, as we say in Sanskrit. Sattva vibrational frequency, which is the frequency of light, of harmony, of love, of intelligence, and eliminate the energies or frequencies of rajas and tamas. And all egoistic tendencies, selfish tendencies, and defects, flaws are related to rajas and tamas. So if we want to experience the peace and bliss, we are already here now in the timeless now. We must connect consciously with this peace, freedom, and silence, and stop identifying ourselves with everything that arises in our psyche and what arises in the external world as sensory experiences. It's simple, but it's difficult because our mind is so strongly conditioned, and passions, desires, and attachments for pleasure, most of all, is so strong in us. So we must give our best to stop this tendency of mind to identify and attach to the external reality in order to experience pleasure and to seek happiness through pleasure, pleasant or pleasurable experiences, or success. This is just an illusion. We cannot experience happiness because of something. We can experience happiness because of our state of mind and heart and energy, and because of our divine essence. If our mind is harmonious, luminous, transparent, and focused on the inner silence, we experience happiness. The happiness of sattva, which is related to the mind at all levels, and the happiness, better to say bliss, and fulfillment and peace of our divine essence. This is the only way and the only to experience plenitude, freedom, happiness, everlasting happiness, and is this only way to stop identifying ourselves with everything that is not ourselves. Because the moment we lose connection with the inner silence, we identify with what we perceive through eyes or through ears or with emotional, mental reactions to the sensory experiences. It's so simple, but it's so strong, this. Our life runs around these sensory experiences we have moment by moment. And our reactions, or the mental, emotional reactions of the programming, which take to be as ourself. We take reactions as ourselves. I am angry. I suffer. I'm happy. Happiness is, happy, or happiness at the level of mind or energy. We are not them. They are expressions, if you will, of our true self, but we are not them. They are experiences, pleasant and unpleasant experiences. And in order to get rid or to get liberation, freedom from this lower emotional, most of all, experiences that causes to us suffering in the form of anger, fear, agony, worries, anxiety, sadness, jealousy, envy, impatience, guilt, avarice, whatever may be, we must connect with the silence and become observers of all of them and stop identifying with them and use methods to dissolve them, to eliminate this energy. Some say to transform them to love. No, you cannot transform. In fact, love is a state of being. It's innate to consciousness. So how he can transform anger to consciousness? Impossible. Consciousness is as it is, as always was, as always is, and as always will be, changeless. We can liberate our mind from these lower energies, which are, it's like toxins, psychological, emotional, energetic toxins. We eliminate these toxins, and then the energy of mind, the energy of emotional mind, etc., becomes harmonious. The vibration is harmonious, transparent. It's like the toxins of the physical form. We don't transform toxins we have accumulated in the system as something superior. We have to eliminate them from the system. And in this, Ayurveda gives us very powerful tools to eliminate the toxins of our system. The same applies to the psychological realm. We have to detoxify our mind at all levels from negative emotions, from selfish desires, from defects of any kind, and rajas and tamas qualities, which are powers. Rajas and tamas are powers of life, are useful because without them there is no life. But their place in their mind as desires and emotions, etc., is problematic. Sattvic desire, that is desire to the well-being of all people, is a sattvic desire. This is not problem. Of course, attachment to this desire can be problematic, but attachment is something related to rajas and tamas. That's why ramas and tamas are like toxins in the mind, at the level of mind at all levels, emotional, mental, intellectual, subconscious mind. We have to liberate our mind from these energies or powers and become totally sattvic. We can say then rajas is the quality of energy and movement. So if there is no rajas in the mind, how the mind can function? But we don't speak the mind as an operational, as a function instrument. We speak about the qualities of the mind. It's a different thing. Rajas in its place as a factor that gives the energy, the mind to function, is a different thing. But rajas in the form of desires for money and sex, etc., is a problematic thing. Okay, we can say why desire and sex is a problematic. It's the core of the suffering of human beings. Sexual desire is the worst. They give this to us pleasure, but you are deluded by this desire. Honestly, you are deluded because you want to have some trifling, pleasurable experience that leave you at the end empty of energy because you lose your energy in the orgasmic experience, and then you try to to find happiness, and then trying to find happiness is impossible because you are empty of energy. We need energy, and we need to elevate the vibrational frequency of energy and direct our energy through the channels we call chakras, etc. And become this sexual energy as divine energy, we could say, spiritual energy that gives us this unlimited happiness, while sexual energy through the lower chakras and externalization of sexual energy gives some pleasure. We think that it's something very important, but it's a great delusion. Sorry to say this, but this is the truth. You like it or not. You take it or not, this is the truth. And this is the core cause of your problem, of your suffering. Because this maintains this passion for pleasure through the body-mind apparatus, mostly through this body sexual energy, maintain the identification with the physical form. It's very strong. And the mind has become a slave of this energy, pleasurable energy. That's why it's so difficult to eliminate this passion. That's why most of humanity suffers from this passion. We have to withdraw our attention from the physical, sensory, physical, psychological experiences and establish our awareness and attention to the inner silence. And this is the most challenging thing in spiritual life. Two things: to stop, identify, and attach ourselves with the experiences, most of all from pleasurable experiences, but also from unpleasant and painful experiences, because our ego curiously, strangely attaches also to suffering. It's so perverse sometimes and wants suffering, although it appears so no sense. But from the perspective of the ego, suffering has some meaning. You can read the books of Eckhart Tolle about the pain body. But the core problem is not the pain body. It is desire for pleasure. And then body is created, it's developed in us. Because we attach ourselves with the physical form, with the mental, emotional, intellectual parts of our existence and the sensory experiences, and all this tree of the egoic self develops. All the branches of the tree and the twigs and the leaves are the strong tendencies and the ramifications and more subtle expressions of this ego tree. And so this ego, in order to experience again and again these pleasures, pulls our attention towards external reality and the pleasure we experience in our energy field and psyche. And we have to withdraw this attention back to the silence, to the center of our existence. This is the greatest battle. But to do this effectively, we need to observe, understand, and eliminate all these tendencies which have us centered this ego field, ego element. This ego element pulls our attention outwards. And so we have to become aware of all this process and withdraw our attention back to the silence. And the ego, which is a battle of desires and passions, wants again to experience pleasures. But in order to experience pleasures, the ego wants consciousness, awareness. So it steals the awareness and uses the awareness, which also we call attention, to experience pleasure or pain as well. And we have to stop this, to cease this process, and develop the habit to withdraw our attention and awareness back to its source, the silent space of awareness where there is stillness and peace and fullness. But the ego wants again and again pleasure, so pulls our attention outwards or on the body's sensations to experience sexual pleasure. You have to identify with this body energy apparatus. And also this creates sexual fantasies and imagination, etc. And we are, in fact, we are slaves of these passions. But we experience as ourselves. I want pleasure. No, you are deluded. That's all. This is the truth. You are, in fact, a victim of lasciviousness or lust. Nothing else. So do you want to live in freedom and peace and plenitude? You have to get rid of passions and extroversion of the mind, which is based on passions and desires for pleasure or success or whatever. And so we have again and again to withdraw our attention back to the source. And in order to do this efficiently and effectively, we must use a method. We can use a mantra, say Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, but not mechanically. Om Namah Shivaya with the intention to maintain connection, awareness of the inner silence. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, and remain as observer or witness of what is happening in my psyche and outwards, in the external reality. Or we can use affirmations such as consciousness I am, silence I am, Om consciousness, Om silence, and I remind myself with these affirmations to remain in connection, conscious connection or awareness with the inner silence. Consciousness I am, silence I am, peace I am, Om consciousness, Om silence, Om. And this is something we have to do moment by moment. There is no other way to maintain this self-awareness. They may be, teachers say they don't need to use them. I don't agree at all. Theoretically, it is possible to maintain this connection, but it's extremely difficult because of the conditioning, passions and extroversion and habit. That's why it is needed. If one has an extremely purified mind, it's not necessary the repetition of such mantras or affirmations. But this is a very rare phenomenon. Do you know many people that are so high yogis, to say, or practitioners? No? I'm in this process 33 years, and I use mantras and affirmations constantly. Okay, now I have the opportunity for some time to remain without the mantra, but I see that after some time there is a relaxation of the, I lose, we could say, this clear awareness of inner silence, then I use again the mantra. After 33 years, I mean, I say. What to say about new practitioners, beginners, or have some time, some years? Some years is something, but it's nothing at the same time. Depends on the maturity of each one. It's not something universal. But anyway, for the majority of people, without using a tool like mantra or affirmations of our true nature, it's difficult to maintain awareness, attention in the inner silence, and very easily we identify ourselves with the experience, whether it is sensory experience, what we see, hear, touch, smell, etc., or psychological experience, the pleasant, unpleasant sensations, emotions we experience, and the thoughts that arise along with these emotional states we experience. We must train our mind to repeat effortlessly, but it needs a lot of time of practice, many years of practice, so that the mantra become like our breathing. without paying much attention to repeat the mantra. It will become habitual and effortless. So this effortless repetition of the mantra, because it is the subconscious mind that after this habit have been created that executes, performs this repetition, and so we are in a state of just remaining as witnesses of even the mantra, and also psychological expressions that arises in us and the external reality. We remain as very easily as witnesses of the experiences, whether psychological or sensorial. There is no better way than this. Although great teachers like Krishnamurti said this repetition of mantra, he had some negative notion about mantras, but it was his ideas about mantras, it was false. This is my experience, at least, and this is what great teachers say, like Swami Shivananda, like Amritananda, which is alive, who is still alive, like my beloved Herakam Babaji, and other great teachers. Repetition of mantras is one of the best ways of practice because it has many advantages, not only to remind ourselves to maintain awareness of inner silence and remain as detached observers, but also because it purifies the mind constantly in our energy field, because it can be used directly to eliminate any egoic tendency arises in us, let's say anger. With the power of mantra, we can dissolve this anger energy using the mantra in a very specific way. I can teach you. I have, in fact, I have present this method in my book, in my posts, in my website, and also in my book, which is called Liberation with the Power of Mantra. There is no greater power than the mantra to remind ourselves to maintain self-awareness and detached observers of what is happening in us and without us, and to purify constantly our energy field and mind and heart, and use the mantra in a specific way to eliminate, to dissolve the energy of the egoic tendency that a flight, it's always here, go, go. And eliminate the energy of the egoic tendency that has been manifested in us. Any moment, any time a tendency arises, we can use mantra and prayer. I use both prayer and mantra to eliminate part of its energy. So remind ourselves to be self-aware moment by moment. Purify constantly our mental, emotional, energetic field. Eliminate any tendency arises in us, to use the mantra to maintain the mind concentrated and don't lose concentration in the present moment, because our mind constantly creates, produces thoughts. So in order to prevent our mind producing thoughts, we can repeat this mantra or affirmations. Consciousness I am, peace I am. I have, as in my case, it functions better through my experience of all these years I had, to say Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, and frequently I say consciousness I am, Atman I am, Om Atman, Om consciousness, to remind myself to get deeper in the silence. And also I repeat affirmations like I'm peace, love and light I am, or I am peace, love and light. All is peace, love and light. Only peace, love and light exists. I am peace, love and light. Om, peace, love and light. Om, Om, Om. And then Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And I remind constantly myself to remain aware of the inner silence, and this has become habitual. So, this is the best way to maintain self-awareness, to avoid to lose ourselves in the experience, whether sensory experience or psychological experience, and remain as observers, and manage or address the situation. Is the best way. So always the ego wants to create forgetfulness, to cause us forget our inner reality, I mean the reality of divine essence, the silent space of consciousness, and make us identify with the experience. This is by nature, it's something the ego does by nature. As the nature of the sun is to give us light and warmth and heating, the nature of the ego, especially the lower aspect of the ego, is to make us identify, to experience pleasure and pain. It's by default, this is the nature. The problem is we identify ourselves with the ego, which also identifies with the body, so we identify ourselves as the body me person. I am a person, a body me person. This is the greatest illusion and the original cause of suffering, because we have loose awareness of our true nature, what we really are, and identify with the physical, mental, emotional, intellectual, egoic self, illusory self, which is not a self, but only all these are instruments of expression. So the central goal of practice is to maintain conscious, firm connection with the inner silence and remain detached observers of the inner world and the outer world. And little by little to understand, to realize what really is happening, and little by little dissolve these energies with the power of mantra, the power of prayer, and other methods. So self-awareness, detached observers, non-identification, and elimination of the psychological conditioning in all forms, emotions, desires, passions, flaws, whatever may be, which in essence are energetic entities, part of the energy field of the ego. The ego is an energy field, and all tendencies are part of this, or expressions of this egoic field of energy. So self-awareness, detached observers, avoid identification or stop identification, and eliminate the egoic tendencies. To maintain and develop this inner connection with the silence, we use mantra and affirmations. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, for example. Consciousness I am, silence I am, Om consciousness, Om silence. Atman I am, Om Atman. Atman I am, Om Atman. Atman means the inner silence. It's not an entity. And also, I'm peace, love, and light. I am peace, love, and light. Peace, love, and light I am, if you will. Om peace, Om love, Om light. Om, Om, Om. Constantly. This is spiritual life in practice, not in the mind, as an idea. So I wish you to have progress in your practice and realize your true nature, the silent, peaceful, blissful space of consciousness, and stop identifying yourselves with the non-self, with your ego, and dissolve it and be liberated in this very life. Use a mantra, use affirmations, use your discrimination, the capacity of discernment, and use some inquiries also to stop identification, to realize the illusions created by the egoic self, and maintain awareness of the inner silence. This is the greatest task, purpose of life, and this brings us to the realm of freedom, eternal freedom and peace beyond any understanding. You can read about the power of mantra and the ways we can use the mantra for meditation, for purification, for eliminating the egoistic tendencies in my posts, in my Substack account, Atman Nityananda Substack, and also to my website, atmanityananda.org, and also in my videos. And in my book, you can find all these things in my book in a very comprehensive way, presented in a very comprehensive way, and practically you will understand how you can use practically the mantras to realize, to get rid of the ego, to develop a self-awareness, to get rid of the ego, to purify mind and heart, and reach the state of liberation. I wish you peace, love, and light. I wish you to be liberated in this very life. Peace, love, harmony. Namaste.